So today I'm going to be installing a hardwire radar detector in a 2021 Honda Passport. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that this is going to be very similar to a 2021 Pilot, 2021 Ridgeline. They're pretty similar vehicles. Lots of Hondas share parts. So I'll just talk through this really quick. So the radar detector that I'm going to be using is the Radenso DS1. The DS1 I really like. I run it in my other car. I just ordered a second one for this particular vehicle. I set it up with the settings that Vortex Radar recommends. Ariel on Vortex Radar is kind of the authority on radar detectors. So I definitely use his settings. And then this is kind of everything that comes in the box. So they give you a cigarette lighter port. They give you a windshield suction cup. And then we have the actual radar detector itself, comes in this nice case. And I also have ordered a hardwire kit for the Radenso. So it's right here. And this comes with a button, mute button, that you can mount wherever you'd like it, within reason. It comes with power harness, and it comes with the power harness that plugs into the actual unit. So this goes to fuse box, this goes to the unit itself. So let's get started. So first things first, you need to kind of figure out where you want the switch to be and where you want your radar detector to be. I generally mount my radar detector on the windshield down below the mirror, and I make it so that it kind of pokes out a little bit below the mirror so that it can come off of the mount. Alright, so we have our radar detector with our mount attached to it. This is obviously adjustable, so we just loosen up this nut on the side and we can kind of move this around, and then it sits in this suction cup mount like a magnet. So it's actually kind of nice. It's very easy to move it from car to car. For a long time I only had one, and I just kind of would take it from car to car as I moved around. Take this off really quick. We'll release the suction cup, push it on there, and then suck it into place. And then this goes in here, and we can loosen up this nut on the side and adjust it so that it's level, just like that. And then we'll tighten it up. And my windshield is tinted. It sticks to the tint just fine. I have it in the Mini. The Mini doesn't have a tinted windshield. That works just fine too. So, you know, it doesn't really seem to matter. I have removed the suction cup from the tinted windshield in the Mercedes, and it was never a problem. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to run the cable along the edge of the windshield. So there's this black end on the cable. One thing that's kind of a key here is inside your pillars on the driver and passenger side, you're going to have airbags. So you're just going to want to make sure that you get around those airbags and make sure that you're behind them and not in front of them. Other than that, it's pretty easy to do. So what I'm going to do is on this driver's side, I'm going to run down the driver's side. There you see that I can kind of pull this rubber piece out. You just grab it with your hand and pull on it. This comes back, and then we've got our pillar cover right here. And these generally unsnap, but I don't even think that I need to in this because there's plenty of room. And what I want to do is I'm going to stick the wire kind of right where my finger is, behind the airbag, poke it out the other side, and then I'm going to grab it over here. So I got it through the slot. It's right here on the other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out a bunch of slack, kind of get me to where I need to be. Now, over here, I think it's important that you're as neat as possible because this is the part where you're actually going to see. So what I like to do is just kind of come down around the mirror like this, and then we can come up against this black trim piece, and we're just going to kind of tuck this up into the headliner. Now, one thing to understand is inside the headliner there's like a dip like this, so you kind of just want to hook it up and behind the headliner with your fingertips so that it's sitting down in that hole. Otherwise what will end up happening is it'll pop out like that. when you're driving down the road. So you just want to kind of make sure that you get it. And this headliner is pretty flexible. It's a fabric, so I just need 2 hands to this. So I'm going to set the camera down. Now we have our cable. I'm running kind of in this valley down here behind the mirror, connecting right to the side of our radar detector. I'm up above the headliner the whole way, and I've got a little loop here, so I'm just going to kind of pull the slack back just like that, and make sure that my headliner and my pillar look right, which those 2 sides match. There's just a little gap here from the factory, it looks like. Yep. So now we can take this harness and we can run it down the door frame, kind of where this rubber piece is from the factory. And this is sometimes hard to get back in, so a trick, you can usually unsnap this side of the dash. Alright, so I just push this down. I stuck it in the slot and pushed this back into place. Pretty easy to do. Sides of these dashes generally unsnap. I actually didn't need to on this one. I just kind of pushed it over and it went right in. So here we are underneath. Let me kind of explain what we're going to do here. So we have this box that needs to be mounted somewhere. I generally put it down by my knee, somewhere under here that's kind of inconspicuous. Somewhere where I can reach it, but it's not in the way. I'm going to run this harness under the dash here, all the way across and over to this side. And then I'm going to have some extra cable that I'll kind of bundle up in here. Then this red and black wire are for power and ground. And these are actually going to power the unit. So they need 12 volt positive power and ground. Ground can be found everywhere, a lot of metal surfaces, different things like this. I'm sure that there's a nice grounding spot here in the kick panel for some factory equipment. That's pretty easy to do. The power, on a lot of radar detectors, you're going to want switched ignition. And what that means is you want power that comes on when the ignition turns on, but shuts off when the ignition shuts off. So the radar detector goes on and off with your key. On the Radenso, they actually have, because it's got GPS built in, it'll automatically shut off after a couple seconds. So I don't need switched power in this car. I just need power. So next I'm going to have to hide and route these wires. So I'm going to take this kind of sill plates off. These generally just pull up. So I'm just going to kind of lift this up with my hand. And I'll separate it right here from this piece behind it. There we are. You can see there's just some snaps there. And I'm going to take out this kick panel here. So we'll kind of pull this rubber back again, and we will unsnap this. Okay. I've never taken this car apart before, but I'll be honest with you, all Hondas are pretty much the same. So they generally snap apart the same way, they're constructed the same way, it's pretty similar. So what we can see is, up here, right there on that black, we actually have a factory ground location very close to where we need to be. And then also we do have like ignition harness right here. Generally white is a Honda accessory, so like this white right here is probably an accessory wire if you wanted to use that. And there's also a grounding location down here. We can see some ground splices from the factory. So there's a bunch of different places where we can get ground. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this power cable that Radenso gives me, I'm going to cut off the spade, and I'm going to strip this wire back, just like that. And then up here, you can see my harness. So I peeled a little bit of tape off of the harness that's right here on the side of the fuse box. And I'm going to connect to this blue wire right here that has constant power. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use these strippers that have these pull apart teeth, and they look like this. And if you kind of grab the wire in the middle and you pull it apart, it strips the center of the wire. And then you can use something like this test light to poke through the middle of the wire, just like that. Now next, we can take this wire, our power wire that came from Radenso, we can put it through that hole that we made and wrap it around. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some electrical tape. Super 33 is really the only one that you should be using, and we will tape that up. Some people might suggest that you use solder in an installation like this. I don't think it's necessary unless you're going to be cutting a wire in half, one of the factory wires, and you need to connect that back together. In this case, because I'm tapping into the wire and I'm not actually affecting the structural integrity of it, I am not going to use solder. And there's actually a reason for that. Solder joints can get brittle with movement over time, and then also in a lot of these locations it's really tight, you're next to a lot of wires, things that you could melt. But also I've seen people before solder and leave like little spikes on the solder, and then those stick through the tape and they hit things next to them and they short out. So when we're done connecting that wire, we want to tape this harness back up kind of the way that it was. So I'm just going to grab a long piece of tape, start at the top, and kind of going to wrap around. Okay, so we are wrapped back up. Now next, we're going to have to connect our ground. So we've got a good one right here. Right here in the kick panel, there's a double black with a 10 in the middle of it. So I'm going to grab a 10 mil and we're going to take that out. All right. All right, now this loop that they give you is kind of small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of wire cutters. I'm going to take a pair of wire cutters and I'm going to snip the center of it. And I'm going to spread it apart just a little bit. And that's going to allow me to make this just a little bit bigger so that it actually fits over the bolt that we have here. So let's take this bolt out. We're going to put it through our wire and we're going to connect it back to the factory harness. So we're going to take this and we're going to find a cable path that we want to follow. Okay, so I'm kind of going to go under. I think what I'm going to do is go under the carpet here and around. So let's work on that. So if we pull on this should unsnap. There we go. Okay, just kind of give ourselves some room there. We can pull that out of the way. And then we're going to take this Radenso button and we're going to fish from this side all the way across. So We're going to take a little bit of this 3M adhesive. We're going to stick it to the top of this Radenso button. We're going to cut that back, and we're going to peel this off. Always good to have 3M tape. You want the red stuff. That's the good one. So I'll get that installed there. Now, let's finish routing the rest of the wire. So this is going to get tucked way down here below the staples that you can see in the carpet. This is actually where some Velcro is. So we want it to be below the Velcro so that it can stay down and out of the pedals. Same thing back here. Oops. So we're nice and low. So we can install our panel back on here. Alright, so we have our privacy panel back in, and we stuck our switch right there. Now over in this side, we've got to clean up everything that's left. So we have our Radenso button cable, and we have our power cable right here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of very carefully wrap this around my hand a couple of times and kind of wind it up. Just like that. And then we can use a zip tie or some electrical tape. We can tape that up back here with the harnesses. Just kind of keep it out of the way. Now we can put our kick panel back in. To do that, we're going to have to tuck up under here, pull out this hood release, get that all in there, and then snap it into place like that, and push our rubber gasket into place. And finally, I can take our sill plate, and mine kept all of the clips in it. If any of the yellow clips are left behind, you can just pull those out and put them back in the plate. And we're going to snap this into place, just like that. And there we are. Now I am having some trouble getting this stuck on. I'm not sure what the car dealership used to clean this car before they delivered it to me. Probably something with an Armor All logo on it. So there we have it. CarPro Eraser. That's what did the trick. Eraser. Let's test it out. There should be a power button. There it is, Radenso DS1. And there we are. So now I'll go through and I'll do the settings for my state, which I just kind of follow the Vortex Radar suggestions. I do turn off K-band. There's an extra K-band that I turn off in California that he doesn't suggest, simply because KA is primarily used by CHP. Yeah, so I mean, there it is. It's installed, everything works, and I'll set the auto off on the Radenso so that it automatically shuts down, you know, when it's been 10 minutes since I last used it. So thank you for watching. I hope that you'll subscribe and have a great day.